from your work with the experiencers, is there anything that happened or that you learned about that's kind of surprised you or you didn't expect when you began?
Yes. And all my religious friends who hear this are probably going to go, oh my gosh. When I had my near-death experience, they showed me what God energy is. And it was like a room with electricity, and everything and everybody was connected, just like you said. And so my image that I had been raised to believe was church, God, all of that was shattered. And when I came back, church was something that was archaic. It wasn't a present energy. So it really surprised me how much everything that I had learned, then I began to question. And to this day, I'm learning new things. And what surprises me is something that I thought always was, I'm now reading people who are writing about the religious history from the standpoint of we are connected to ETs. And so it's changing everything, my whole foundation of what I was taught from the time I was little. So that surprised me, and it's ongoing.
Let's talk about that, how this concept of ETs, star family, how that impacts the religious upbringing, especially, well, I guess all of the religions don't necessarily address ETs. So then when we accept a reality that they do exist, how does that coincide with the religious beliefs that we were brought up with? And I know that, aren't you co-authoring a book with Kathy Martin about that?
Yes, we are. It's in the statistician's place right now, analyzing the data from the survey that we did with 50 questions. We had 1,005 people that responded. So we're trying to lessen what's called the ontological shock, meaning when people find out, like I did, that, oh, this is real and the things we were taught don't fit, what are we going to do with that? Throw away the baby with the bathwater? Well, we're trying to prevent that. We're trying to say that it has been in the scriptures since the beginning of the time that scriptures were recorded, but we didn't have the translation in order to do that. It doesn't mean that we're of less value. It doesn't mean that we have to throw away our belief and connection to God. It just means that we need to reshape it. And for some people, it'll be, I'm angry because the church, whatever you call the church, lied to me. Well, the church didn't know. They were following what they had been taught they were supposed to do. So I think for many of them, they're going to be in shock as well. So it's going to be quite a shift.
And speaking of paradigm shifts,
yes,
we're both part of the New Paradigm Institute's Citizens for Disclosure activism arm, right? And we're both co-leaders of Florida. I know that you said that, or told me before, that your council said go ahead and get involved with the Citizens for Disclosure. Can you tell us a little bit about that encouragement and how that worked out?
I think it was February 3rd. I think it was 2021. Kevin was trying to get the United Nations to tell us what the protocol was for welcoming our ET family. And they said they didn't have one. Well, they had told Kevin they were going to show up in Central Park. I think it was February 2nd or 3rd, like at 6:31 in the morning. So he's there, I'm communicating with him. We're going, they're coming, right? He said, they just told me they're not coming. And it's overcast here. And he said they told him it wasn't safe for them to come because there wasn't a protocol. So that what instead they were going to do was a soft disclosure. And that meant that each of us, the Council of Four, would be instructed on things we were to do, and they would be working with other groups as well. And we would branch out, and eventually the disclosure would come 1 + 1 + 1. And they said to create a petition for people to sign to say, we want disclosure. So that petition has been made. There's a proclamation that has been made by those who are saying, we know they're here. We want them to be able to come. So part of that process was over time, they would tell me, we want you to do this now. We want you to do this now. And so part of that is that I'm to be part of the new paradigm, and the Citizens for Disclosure. And I follow my instructions given by the Council of Eight, and then I follow what I'm requested for the Citizens for Disclosure. If the two don't coincide, I meditate on it and go, okay, what am I supposed to do? What is for our highest good? And I've had conversations with this with our state coordinator rep, and explain things, and she understands that I'm following a higher order.
And anyone can actually join the New Paradigm Institute. I'll put the website right there in case people want to join it. If someone wants to make contact with the ETs, what would you recommend that they do?
I would recommend that they read a couple of books or articles about it, like Dr. Stephen Greer, the work that he's done with CE5. I would have them listen to Russ Coulthart on News Nation. Some of his interviews that he's done with people would be helpful. Go look up Chris Bledsoe and his experiences so that you can understand how he made contact. If they want to have contact and are willing to make contact with me for me to help teach them, I'm willing to do that. I don't make a promise. I don't say, oh, I guarantee. No, I don't do that. I just say, I can create a meditation for you. It's a very short one where you can say that you're open and ready for contact and see what happens.
You talked about earlier how you raise your vibration so far, and I guess they kind of lower their vibration. It's kind of like the way I understand the angels do too. If we want to communicate with angels because they're such a high vibration, we've got to raise our vibration and they lower theirs, and then we make that connection. So I'm assuming it's the same with the ETs because they're of a higher vibration.
Yes. I asked them in one of our questions with our sessions with the council, are you on the level with angels? They said no. But I said, well, do you believe in God? They said, oh, definitely. We work with God. I said, oh, okay. Just want to make sure he wasn't separate. They said, no. But they're at a higher frequency, and angels are as well. So you're right.
And so it's kind of the different, because I know in all of this ET talk, there's several different types of sightings. People have sightings of the ships themselves, and then there's these orb plasma things. Some people are talking about transdimensional beings, and in that realm, I think they're talking more about like angels and perhaps even demons that are transdimensional those aren't ETs. The ETs are actual species, but some of them may be physical or they can become physical. But I guess a lot of them live in the fifth dimension, sixth dimension, dimensions where you don't have a physical being, but you still have a consciousness. So it can be very confusing to people to understand, what are they dealing with? Are these orbs? Are these, true beings? Are these even craft that were developed by the government? So they look like, they're reverse engineered crafts, and they're our government, and then they've been talking about false flag operations and things like that.
Right.
So it's a very confusing topic for people. I'd like to know, what do you do to raise your vibration, to make that contact?
I go into solitude so that I don't have the outside influence. And then I do some breathing exercises. And I have a special place that I sit that is my meditation place. And then I will have my pen ready to record anything, or I will have my phone recorder ready if there's something, because sometimes Shiva will channel through me. It's very rare that she does that. And the reason she says is that she can speak telepathically with me, so I don't have to channel her. But those are the things I do. And then I envision going through that inner sanctum, opening up the grid, opening up the aperture, and then on the landing pad, and then I go into the craft. So I'm joining with them in their space.
And from all these ETs that you've connected with, what do they want humanity to know? What's their main message?
What the council have instructed us, Council of Four earthly members, is that there are good councils and there are bad councils. The majority of the galactic species want good for Earth. There are some that don't, but the good is stronger than the bad. So they said that, they're working to help raise our vibration, to help heal our planet, to teach us how to live without being dependent on fossil fuels, how to have adequate food and water for everybody, how to get along without having wars, how to heal. And they said all these things are possible, but until we can get out of that lower vibration, we're not going to be able to encounter those things.
Just in the same way, if people want to have communication with the ETs, if you're in a bad space or you're low vibration or they're skeptical, that's not going to make it easy for them to communicate, and probably not going to get any kind of communication with that.
Correct. But you
vibration.
can, in that lower vibration, have communication with some that aren't so good.
Right.
So you have to learn to protect yourself. Because I've had, in the last couple months, I had some physical illnesses, and some of the bad influences tried to penetrate when my vibration was low. And I had to do some protective things to say, just because I'm at a low level doesn't mean you're welcome.
Right.
And so I had to do some protection.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because I know I used to have a fear of, the movie The Exorcist, kind of.
Yes.
Even though I didn't watch the whole thing when I was a kid, but that would really scare me. And the conclusion that I've come to, or what I've learned at this age, at 62, is that, they can only affect you if you fear them. If we don't fear them, or we get out of the fear vibration, they can't touch us. So if we're in the higher vibrations, the good vibes, what I'm always preaching about, good vibes, love, peace, happiness, joy, appreciation, gratitude, all of the good vibes, if we stay in that vibration, the negative entities, the negative energies that do exist, they can't mess with us. They just can't. Do you have any advice to people that might, have that fear of, I don't want to try to communicate because I'm afraid that I might communicate with something negative? What do you recommend?
So I have been doing cleansings on buildings and people and houses and animals for about 35 years. And what I have been taught over the years is, even when the negative comes, there's a reason. There's a lesson to be learned. There's a challenge to overcome. So when I'm removing some negative attachments from somebody, I ask the attachment, were you sent? Yes. Were you sent by a living human being? Sometimes. Were you sent by a deceased one? Sometimes. Were you sent for a karmic debt? Most of the time. And then I will say to that negative attachment, okay, your job's done. You can either leave and now go to the light side and not have to do this anymore, or if you prefer the dark, you're free to go, but you can't come back anymore. So I let them tell me. And when I get the answer, then if they choose to go to the light, I let them know there will be the portal opening up and you'll be welcomed home with peace and security and forgiveness. But if you choose to go to the dark side, then there is a ritual that I say, which is, by the shed blood of Jesus Christ, whose discipline I follow, and the power that's been invested in me by God, you are ordered to depart from this person, this property. You can't come back into any person, property, place, thing, nothing. And then I make a loud pronouncement, go now. And then I check after to make sure they've departed. And it's quite effective.
You said that there were negative ETs or negative councils out there. Have you ever encountered a negative ET?
Yes, I have.
Can you tell us about that experience?
I will tell you briefly, but I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't want to invite it in. But when I was at the low vibration, some different beings wanted to come in and, let's just say, occupy space in my body. And I had enough people praying for me and enough ability to say, no, you are not welcome. No, I choose not to have you come in. I recognize that you want to come in, so I'm acknowledging you, but no, that is not what I choose. And they went away.
And this is because this is a free will world that we live in. We have free will, and we have the right and the sovereignty to protect ourselves and to not allow things in, right?
Right. And I didn't necessarily notice that I'd had some things that came along when I was in the hospital 3 weeks ago. I had some negative attachments that, piggybacked, hitchhiked with me, and I didn't recognize it, but others did. And so they told me, and I listened because I believed them. And I did the processes and had people do the ritual, and they went away. And I could feel a shift in the energy within minutes of them doing the processes. But I didn't know because I was clouded.
Right. Because you were still healing in the healing process.
Yes.
So it's not anything, the spirituality is not anything people should be afraid of, but it is a real thing. And, and it isn't all unicorns and rainbows.
It is
There is
not,
the other
no.
side to it, but
But if
we don't have to
people-
live in that other side or evoke that, right?
So if people
So-
get afraid, there are things to help them. So if they feel like, oh my gosh, something's happened, I've got something attached to me. Well, there's ways you can check. And I've got a video that I can send to you that you can attach that tells people how to protect themselves from such things.
We'll put that in the description of the video.
Okay.
So, Melanie, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience?
I'm very grateful that I have the opportunity to do the work that I'm doing. And I'm open to helping whoever is open to learning what they're supposed to do. But you've got to have a receptive attitude and not expect, oh, I'm going to get this great mission and I'm going to have this wonderful publicity. That's not what it's about. You almost have to agree to be in solitude and to work from behind the scenes to make the most pronounced effect in a positive way.
What are the best ways for people to reach you, Dr. Melanie?
They can go to drmelaniebarton@gmail.com. They can go to my website, thedrmelanieshow.com, or they can contact through you and you can direct them to me. Or they can go look up my books on Amazon.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Melanie Barton, for this interview. Lots of insightful information, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity to talk with you and learn about this kind of new world that's opening up to many of us who never really kind of got into the ETs. But I think it's time because it's part of our evolution.
Thank you for the privilege.
Thank you for watching. If you've received some value from this episode, please like, share, and subscribe, and also let your friends know so that they can learn how to raise their vibration. Peace out, everyone.